You're looking at an old photograph from 1898. At first glance, it seems sweet and innocent. A young boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, sitting in a Victorian parlor and holding a porcelain doll. Nice, right? Perhaps he was just playing with his sister's toy. Or it could be a simple family picture. That's what archivists believed for 125 years. But in 2023, when digital restoration tools cleared away years of damage and fading, experts noticed something in the shadows that changed the whole story. Something hidden turned this sweet portrait into one of the saddest photographs from Victorian times. That boy wasn't playing, he was grieving. In February 2023, Dr. Margaret Chen, a digital archivist at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., was doing a regular restoration job on Victorian-era photos. She came across an old cabinet card from 1898. The image showed a young boy, around 8 or 9, seated in what looked like a Victorian parlor. He wore dark formal clothes, knee-length breeches, a dark jacket, and a white collar. In his arms he held a large porcelain doll with a delicate painted face, dressed in a fancy white lace gown. At first, Dr. Chen listed it as unidentified boy with toy, circa 1898. She noted that boys playing with dolls wasn't unusual back then. She was about to move on to the next photo, but something felt off. The boy's face looked very serious, not playful or joyful, but deeply sad. He held the doll tightly, almost protectively. The pose seemed formal and important, more than just a casual picture. Dr. Chen chose to use high-resolution digital restoration on it. The original cabinet card had heavy damage, 125 years of spots, water stains, fading, and wear had hidden key details. With advanced imaging, she slowly removed layers of damage. As the work went on, hidden things started to appear. The boy's clothes weren't everyday wear, but formal mourning dress. The dark material was black crepe, used only for mourning in Victorian days. A black armband showed clearly on his left sleeve, a sign of a recent family death. Looking closer at the background revealed more. The parlor had black fabric draped everywhere. Victorian mourning curtains covered the windows, and on a small table next to the boy was a framed photo wrapped in black ribbon, another mourning tradition. Fresh flowers, probably from a funeral, stood in a vase. The biggest clue came from a small card at the bottom of the photo. After enhancement, Dr. Chen read part of the text, Memory of Clara, age 6, April 1898. But the most shocking find was on the doll itself at full resolution. The doll's face had unusual detail and skill, far more than a normal store-bought Victorian doll. The features looked personal, not like a generic painted face, but a careful portrait. The hair wasn't usual fake stuff, but real human hair, brown and neatly styled. Dr. Chen talked to experts on Victorian toys and mourning customs. They told her to check certain things: the porcelain quality, clothing style, and hand construction. What they confirmed changed it all. This wasn't a regular toy doll. It was a memorial doll, a Victorian death effigy made to look like a dead child. On the back of the cabinet card, barely readable after restoration, Dr. Chen found a handwritten note, Thomas Whitmore, age 8, with memorial likeness of his sister Clara, age 6, taken 3 weeks after her passing. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, May 15, 1898. Photographer J.W. Black and Company. This wasn't a photo of a boy playing with his sister's toy. It was a memorial portrait. Thomas held a custom porcelain doll made to look like his dead sister Clara, who had died only 3 weeks before. The picture went from a curious old portrait to a painful record of a child's sorrow and a family's effort to keep their daughter's memory alive. To understand why the Whitmore family made such a doll, we need to look at how Victorians dealt with death, especially children's deaths. In the late 1890s, many children died young. In the United States, about 1 in 5 kids didn't live past age 5. Illnesses like scarlet fever, diphtheria, tuberculosis, pneumonia, and whooping cough took thousands of young lives each year. No family, rich or poor, was safe from losing a child. This hard fact shaped Victorian mourning into detailed formal rituals to show grief openly and handle loss privately. When a child died, families followed strict mourning rules that could last years. Parents, especially mothers, wore full black mourning clothes for at least a year, often longer. Homes got draped in black crepe. Mirrors were covered, clocks stopped at the time of death, social events stopped completely. Victorian society expected open grieving. Mourning was a public show of love and loss, with strict rules on clothes, actions, and time. Not mourning properly was seen as wrong. Besides, public rituals, families wanted personal ways to stay connected to lost children. Photography became very important. Post-mortem photos, pictures of the dead, often posed as if asleep, were common, especially for families who couldn't afford many pictures. These were treasured keepsakes, often the only images of their child. Memorial dolls gave an even more real way to remember. The custom was uncommon, mostly for middle and upper-class families who could pay the high cost. For those who could, the doll helped emotionally. The making process was careful and personal. Skilled doll makers, often the same ones who made fancy porcelain figures, worked from photos of the dead child and family talks. They shaped a clay model of the child's face, copying exact features like eye shape, mouth curve, cheeks and nose. This model made a porcelain mold. The porcelain got fired at high heat, then hand-painted to match the child's skin tone, eye color and lips. Glass eyes matched the child's color. Most important, real human hair, usually the dead child's own, cut and saved after death, got attached to the head like a wig, so the doll held a real part of the lost child. The doll wore clothes copied from the child's outfits, often their best dress. Some families used actual clothes that fit the doll. The price was high, but the meaning was huge. In 1898, a custom memorial doll cost $50 to $200, about $1,800 to $7,200 today, or 2 to 8 months' pay for an average worker. These dolls helped grieving families in many ways. They gave something to focus grief on, an object to hold, care for, and show. For siblings like Thomas, they let them keep a bond with the lost sister. Parents could ND the doll as they had the living child, giving some sense of normal life amid pain. Some families displayed them for years, others kept them safe and brought them out on sad days. A few got buried with the mother later, to join parent and child again. By the early 1900s, as child deaths dropped thanks to better medicine and health rules, and as Victorian mourning faded, memorial dolls became rare. The practice mostly ended by World War I. Today, surviving Victorian memorial dolls are very scarce and prized by museums and collectors of mourning items. They show a lost time when families faced child death with public rituals and private keepsakes that feel both moving and strange now. After identifying the photo, Dr. Chen spent weeks researching the Whitmore family in census records, city lists, death papers, and old newspapers. She found a sad story that explained the memorial picture. Thomas and Clara Whitmore were children of Edward Whitmore, a textile merchant, and his wife Margaret. They lived at 1847 Spruce Street in Philadelphia's Rittenhouse Square area, a decent middle-class spot. Edward ran a wholesale fabric business, selling to tailors and dressmakers around the city. The 1900 census shows the family did well. They had a live-in servant and owned their home, clear signs of middle-class comfort. Clara Elizabeth Whitmore was born March 3, 1892. A family Bible called her lively and loving, fond of singing and starting piano. A church note from Second Presbyterian mentioned Clara in an Easter program in April 1897, reciting a poem. Thomas Edward Whitmore, born 1890, was 2 years older. School records show he went to a public school on Locust Street. In earlier April 1898, a scarlet fever outbreak hit Philadelphia. Scarlet fever, a bacterial illness mostly in children, was terrifying then. It started with sore throat and high fever, then a red rash spread. Bad cases led to pneumonia, kidney issues, or heart failure. A notice in the Philadelphia Evening Bulletin on April 17, 1898, listed the Whitmore home at 1847 Spruce Street under quarantine, a common step. A red sign warned others away. Health records confirmed Clara Whitmore died April 22, 1898, at age 6 years, 1 month, and 19 days. The cause was scarlet fever with pneumonia. Her small funeral happened April 24th, and burial records from Laurel Hill Cemetery show her in the Whitmore family plot, Section 14, Lot 23. Quarantine and contagion fear kept the funeral to just close family. 3 weeks after her death on May 15, 1898, the Whitmores went to J.W. Black & Company's studio, one of Philadelphia's top photo places on Chestnut Street. They brought a porcelain memorial doll ordered soon after Clara died, made by Sarah Mitchell, a Philadelphia doll maker known for memorial pieces. An old invoice from the Philadelphia Historical Society shows they paid $75, about 3 months' wages for a middle-class family. The photo was set up carefully. Thomas wore formal black mourning clothes with an armband and posed holding the doll, a stand-in for his sister. The parlor had mourning curtains, a pre-death photo of Clara framed, and funeral flowers. This memorial portrait did several things. It recorded the family's grief, showed respect for Clara, let Thomas appear with his sister one more time, and saved the doll's image in case it got lost or damaged later. Clara's death hurt the Whitmores for years. The 1900 census still shows them at the same address, but Margaret had no job listed, probably from lasting sadness. Edward's business slowed after Clara died. By 1905, they moved to a smaller, cheaper home on Pine Street. Edward died in 1911 at 52. His death paper said heart failure, but family letters hint he never got over losing Clara. Margaret lived until 1923. She had no more children, and her obituary said she asked to be buried holding a small porcelain doll, likely Clara's memorial one, to join her daughter in death. Thomas grew up married in 1915 and had 2 daughters, but family tales say Clara's death marked him deeply. He kept the 1898 memorial photo in his home all his life and told his girls about the sister he lost at age 8. The memorial photo of Thomas with his sister's doll isn't just old history. It's a planned piece of Victorian memorial photography by experts in recording grief. J.W. Black & Company, started in 1872 by James Wallace Black, was known for careful, respectful mourning photos. Victorian memorial photographers dealt with hard technical and emotional tasks. They made images that honored the dead, comforted the living, and followed mourning rules, all with 1890s camera limits. The Whitmore portrait shows the photographer's skill. The layout balances well. Thomas slightly off-center for interest. Focus on him and the doll. The doll faces forward so its features show clearly, on purpose to display the likeness. Lighting is soft and even from studio windows with diffusing fabric, gentle to avoid dark shadows and suit slow film that needed seconds of exposure. Background and items were set carefully. Black curtains made a sad mood and contrasted with Thomas and the white-dressed doll. A table held Clara's photo for connection between living memorial, doll, and tribute. Fresh flowers added soft beauty to the gloom. The photographer guided Thomas's pose and look. He sat straight but natural, arms around the doll protectively. His eyes looked straight at the camera, steady and dignified, showing grief. The photo was sharp, well exposed, and toned nicely. The albumin silver print gave rich tones and fine detail, catching the doll's delicate face and fabric textures. Beyond skill, these photographers knew the deep meaning of their work. For many families, such photos were the only way to keep a lost child's memory. The photographer created not just a picture, but a treasured item for generations. The care in the Whitmore portrait shows in every part. It wasn't quick business, but thoughtful work between a sad family and skilled people who understood the importance. The photo would arrive weeks later, mounted on thick card with the studio name in gold at the bottom. It likely stood proudly in their parlor, a public sign of loss and private comfort for grief. Today, the image stands as proof of Victorian mourning ways, memorial doll customs, and memorial photography art. But most of all, as a record of one family's love and pain saved over 125 years. When Dr. Margaret Chen finished restoring Thomas Whitmore's memorial portrait in March 2023 and shared her findings, the photo spread fast online, getting millions of views. At first, people felt uneasy with Victorian mourning ways. Many called it disturbing. The thought of a brother posing with a doll made like his dead sister in a formal photo seemed creepy. Comments said things like creepy, traumatizing, or why do that to a child? But as Dr. Chen and historians explained Victorian mourning and high child death rates, views changed. People started seeing it not as weird, but as deeply human, a family using their time's ways to handle huge loss. This photo matters now for many reasons. It shows how much our view of death has shifted. In 1898, death, especially for kids, was part of everyday life. Most families lost at least one child, and detailed mourning helped them cope and show love openly. Mourning then was public, rule-based, and long. Today, death is hidden in hospitals and kept private. We have fewer ways to handle grief and less experience with loss, especially kids' deaths. The Whitmore's practices, the doll, black clothes, staged photo, were normal and needed then, not odd. Seeing this helps us understand our own discomfort, says more about modern ways than Victorian ones. The photo also shows great advances in child health. Clara died from scarlet fever, now treatable with antibiotics. In 1898, it killed thousands of kids. The doll and photo are reminders of a time when parents feared losing children constantly, a fear much lower now thanks to medicine. It also shows the timeless need to keep memories and bonds with lost loved ones. We don't make memorial dolls today, but we do similar things: online memorial pages, video tributes, unchanged rooms, or ash jewelry. Ways change, but the need stays. Young Thomas's story reminds us kids grieve differently, and including them in mourning can help heal. Modern experts suggest things like memorial photos, ways for children to face loss, show feelings, and keep symbolic ties to dead siblings. Finally, the photo means a lot to Whitmore descendants. After Dr. Chen shared her work, she heard from Linda Whitmore Harrison, Thomas's great-great-granddaughter. Linda grew up with family stories about Thomas's young sister who died, but never saw photos or full details. Seeing the photo and learning Clara's story touched her deeply. For 125 years, this image sat unidentified in an archive. Now Clara and Thomas's story is found. Their grief is seen. That feels important. Like we're honoring their memory as they deserved, she said. The restored photo joined the Library of Congress's key Victorian memorial collection. A high-quality digital copy went to Whitmore descendants. Thomas Whitmore, the 8-year-old boy holding his sister's memorial doll in 1898, died in 1960 at age 72. He carried Clara's memory his whole life. Now, through this photo's rediscovery and restoration, that memory lives on for more generations, making sure Clara Whitmore, gone at 6 in 1898, won't be forgotten. What seemed like a simple, cute photo of a boy with a doll turned out to be something much deeper, a record of love, loss, and the great efforts families make to hold on to memories. Clara Whitmore lived only 6 years, but through this photo, through her brother's grief caught in time, her memory lasts 125 years later. Sometimes the strongest photos reveal their true meaning only when we look closely and really see.